x will be a non-negative number. So you might come across this term called non-negative. What does that mean? Non-negative means that x can be greater than 0 or x can be equals to 0. So at any given time, x can be 1, x can be 2, x can be 3, x can be 1 billion, x can be 1 trillion. So those are all positive value. So when you see a notation like that, so at any certain time, this variable x contains a number that will always be 0, or the x will contain a number that's equals to 0, or x will contain 0. Simply, uh, it's just a simple fundamental concept. Sorry. So if we write something like this, so let's say that x, let's call this a, and x contains 4. So using this notation, we can write 4 is enclosed in these two bars, or the absolute value of 4 will be 4. So because we can see, or we can actually infer from this condition that x will be a non-negative number, so the absolute value of 4 will always give us 4. What happens if we apply, let's scroll down, so let's actually see what happens when we have x equals to 0. So if we apply 0 inside those two bars, which means the absolute value of 0 will be 0. So the next thing that is, if we apply something like this, x equals to minus 3. So let me show that on a number line first. Let me draw a number line for you. So let's assume this is our number line, and then let's remember those 3 steps. First, after drawing the number line, we have to assign an origin, or these coordinate of 0 to a certain point on the number line. So this part refers to the positive coordinates, and this part refers, obviously the opposite side will always refer to the negative coordinates. So negative 3, let's assume this is 1 minus 1, let's assume this is minus 2, and let's assume this is minus 3. So the coordinate of minus 3 at this certain point will actually render something else. So what will it do? It will give us something like this. If we apply the absolute value of minus 3, then what we'll have to do is that it will give us 3. Because always remember that when we say that the absolute value, then the absolute value of x, then it will always mean that the number of x will always be non-negative. So we have to negate, or we have to apply another minus sign, so minus into minus becomes positive. So it gives us an answer of 3, which is a non-negative number, and we can say that x is greater than 0. So in this case, x has become greater than 0, or the absolute value of minus 3 is actually 3. We are going to see a rule, and I'm going to extend this idea further, so you don't have to worry about that right now. So notice that something actually happens in here. So as we have said earlier, that this right hand side represents the positive coordinates on the number line, and this left hand side represents the negative coordinates on the numbered line. So what happens is that you must notice that when we apply the -3, which is a constant coordinate on this number line, we are referring to one side. So we are referring to this side. So relative to this side, we if we consider this side to be positive, there are no hard and fast rule that left hand side must be negative, but as a convention we always refer the right hand side to be we always refer the right hand side to be positive. So let's assume that we have the negative coordinate, which is a constant coordinate on the number line. So if we assume that we have to apply the absolute value theorem or the notation on this negative line, then it will refer to the opposite side. So what it basically means is that if x is a negative number, then minus x will be positive. So more simply, if x is a negative number, in this case we can say that the variable x contains a negative number at a certain time. So this variable x contains a number of -3 or a coordinate or a constant of -3 at a certain time. Then we can say that the opposite number of this -3, or the exact, if we put it more precisely, then we can say that the opposite number of this -3 will be +3. Or as I've said, if x is a negative number, then minus x is positive. If x is a negative number, then minus x is positive. So we are considering we are considering this -3 inside x. So this x, as you can tell by this variable either contains this variable currently can be written as positive x. So this positive x contains -3. So this opposite, so what does the opposite x contains? So we will always denote the opposite with the opposite symbol, just like we have seen earlier that when we consider one side to have all this positive when we consider all this